A very good morning and welcome to you all to this session. I, Dr. Pranav Joshipura, welcome you all on this unique initiative of a series of lecture. I am thankful to the UGC Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University for providing me an opportunity to connect with you all and deliver my session on drama translation. I thank Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi, Professor and Director of UGC HRDC of Gujarat University. In fact, the entire team of the UGC HRDC is doing an excellent work towards connecting and satiating academic appetite of teachers across the nation. As you all know, HRDC Gujarat University is ranked 15 in India and number 1 in Gujarat. It is the pioneer and has created history or various benchmarks by organizing so many unique initiatives. For instance, it organized the first of its kind online refresher course in India in the year 2018-19. About 2,500 participants attended the same. This center has been the first ever online short-term course on e-content development during lockdown and Unlock 1. I think more than 100 courses with about 4,000 participants have successfully completed. The participants are from across the country. The UGC HRDC Gujarat University has organized the first of its kind online annual refresher program in English language teaching. It's called ARPIT, A-R-P-I-T, with record-breaking 9,000 participants in the year 2019 and 20. It organized the first online professional development program. It's called PDP for the administrative staff of universities during lockdown, and 105 participants participated in the same. HRDC Gujarat University is coordinating the online e-content creation training for all the professors of the colleges and universities of Gujarat, along with Department of Higher Education. The Commissionerate of Higher Education and Knowledge Consortium of Gujarat in 2020. The UGC HRDC Gujarat University has collaborated with IIMA, SPIPA, IIT Delhi and Mumbai, Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, Delhi University, DU, the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, Mumbai University, Narsi Monje Institute of Mumbai, InflipNet, SNDT Mumbai University, St. Xavier's College Mumbai, NIEPA, NCERT, UGC, etc., etc., etc. The journal of the UGC HRDC Gujarat University is indexed in cross-reference and has digital object identifies DOI. This center has signed MOU with UK and Canadian universities. Indeed, a very active center. I sincerely congratulate Dr. Jagdish Joshi and his entire team for such an excellent initiative. Congratulations. The topic I'm going to deliver today is drama translation. Once again, I'm Pranav Joshipura. I'm an associate professor at UMA Arts and Nathiba Commerce Mahila College. I'm specialized in drama, Indian drama vis-a-vis diaspora Indian theater. After understanding the nuances of translation, various aspects of translation, after problematizing translation, let us now understand what is drama. It is very significant to understand and know what is drama without gaining understanding of a specific genre. It would be difficult to translate a drama. The first and the foremost question while translating a drama is to know what is drama. Drama, as you all know, is, it's a piece of literature. Literature mirrors the society. It's a reflection of the society. It's a representation of the society. So in that sense, a drama is also a representation of the society. So a drama is a piece of literature at the very outset. It voices various issues of the society. Uh, I would like to draw your attention to A Doll's House, Henrik Ibsen's play, where the question of a woman's individuality is raised. I would also like to draw your attention to The Good Woman of Sedzua by Brecht, where he talks about the quality a human should possess, or it speaks about humanism, that human is in the center of all existence. I also would like to draw your attention to Mrs. Warren's Profession by J.B. Shaw, which deals with a very sensitive issue of prostitution. The playwright clearly draws a differentiation between a person and the profession. A person should not be evaluated by the profession he or she is in. So the problems and representation of problem through stage, through drama. So drama is a piece of literature. It represents whatever happens in the society. This is what is drama. So apart from, just like drama, a novel also is a piece of literature. A short story also is a piece of literature. A diary, a memoir, nowadays, lot of auto-ethnographic presentations or writings, they happen everywhere. So there are various pieces of literature, and drama is one of them. Each genre has a specific way of representation. A novel is different from a short story. A drama is different from a novel. A memoir is different from a diary. An autobiography is different from biography. So each genre has a specific technique, has a specific way of presentation. Poem, for example, they are very different from novels. They are very different from drama. They are very different from short story. So these genres vary with each other. Similarly, drama also varies. Drama is a unique and very technical form of literature, like all the other forms are, in the sense that a drama entails performance. A drama, it is meant to be performed. The end means of writing a drama is performance. So a drama is a text as well as there is a performance text. A drama is a text, in itself is a text. You can read the text as well as there is a performance text, meaning the playwright has a stage space in his mind or her mind. And it is into this space that the drama is created. Now, this space is very physical. So a drama is meant to be performed, not only discussed. It is meant to be performed. So performance or performability is a unique identity of a drama. Without performance, drama is nothing. Like you are not supposed to read drama as you are reading a short story. You have to watch a drama. Even while reading, you can watch a play getting performed in your mind's space. If you know theater, if you know space, if you know stage, if you know the technicality, the technical aspects of a stage, you know about performance, various assets, various aspects of the performance. So the essential quality of a drama is that it has to be performed. And this makes drama a unique genre, a different genre than other genres. Moreover, a drama represents an age and a culture. If you watch a Shakespearean drama and if you watch a Shavian drama, J.B. Shaw drama, both are plays, both are dramas, but these dramas are different from each other because each drama represents a specific age and a specific culture. For instance, you watch an Indian drama and you watch a Greek drama, you watch an African drama and you watch an American drama. All these dramas are different because they represent different cultures, and each culture is unique in itself. So what you are watching on stage is not only a text and a performance and actors and directors and the technicalities of a drama, but you are watching a time getting unfolded through theater. You are watching a culture getting opened up before the audience. In fact, it's very interesting to note that each performance is a text in itself, because at every performance this slight variation. Two performances of the same play are never alike, because the stages may be different. For example, one drama, a drama is performed in Ahmedabad, then the drama goes to Mumbai, then it travels to Delhi, then it travels to Bangalore. In each of the cities, the stage and the technicalities are different. The type of the audience are different. The type of the reception is different. The type of the culture is different. The type of communication is different. On some day, the protagonist or the performer, they are they are in the best of the mood, so the performance is the best. On some days, some actor may not be feeling well. On some day, the light may not be working properly. On some day, the set may not be up to the mark. There are so many aspects which impact a performance. So performance varies from place to place, time to time. Right? So no two performances can be alike. And therefore, each performance is a separate text, a text in itself. And therefore, when you critique a drama, what do you critique? You need a text. You cannot critique a drama based on the performance. A performance analysis is an entire different thing. Right? So what you need is a text, a printed version, and then you can comment upon the text. So this is the technicality of drama. A drama is a piece of literature, but the performance value is added to the drama. As all genres reflect age and culture, drama also reflects age and culture. The only difference which is crucial to the drama is that you read other genres, while for the drama you watch a play, you watch a performance of the play. That is the crucial difference. Lokasya charitam natyam. Drama is people's representation. What happens to our lives is reflected in a drama. But drama is intense. As poetry is intense emotionally, drama also is intense. The audience knows that the characters are only performing a role. They are not actually committing it. They are only performing a role. Yet, they get so drained into the emotional current of the actor that when the actor on the stage cries, the audience also cries. When the actor on the stage laughs, the audience also laughs. So this is emotional current. Uh, there are a few performances which unsettle an audience. It gives a lot of trouble to the audience. It sets to question the audience that why is this happening, right? uh, I uh, I would love to share a few instances where dramas have compelled people to question set laws, and and dramas have greatly impacted the society. There are so many instances. So drama is a powerful medium. It conveys the message straight away, because it is because the genre is technical. Everybody, every every raw audience cannot enjoy and understand the significance of a serious drama. One needs to be technically equipped in order to watch a performance, because drama involves symbols, drama involves suggestions. There are so many things happening at the same time. The audience must understand the significance of each aspect. I'll talk about this a little later. Meanwhile, you know, the audience, that is the reader, is called the fourth wall in a drama. Fourth wall because the gap between the stage and the audience, that is the first row, it erases, eclipses. The audience becomes one with the action happening on the stage, and the wall collapses, the space collapses, the empty space collapses. So the audience is the fourth wall which captures the emotional currents, and the audience flows into the emotional current, and this is the beauty of the drama. Therefore, watching a drama is watching an emotional current. Right? It is not easy to flow into this current. One needs technical understanding of various nuances of theater. Now, very interestingly, a drama is first created in the mind of the author. Then the author writes down the drama, the play. Now, this play is not exact representation of what actually he or she had in his mind. It is only an approximation. It's a translation of the idea. Now, this text is picked up by the director, the one who directs the play. And the director interprets or decodes, analyzes the text. And then the director molds or transfers the text into performance with the help of various actors and various things, various technical equipments. Now, this performance, which is far away from what author had imagined, thought of, constructed in his mind, still it is a drama. The audience performs a drama. The actors perform a drama, and the audience receives the drama. The audience watch the play, and they interpret the play in the way they want to. So we can imagine the travel undertaken by a play. Now, actual play begins when the audience leaves the auditorium. Because inside the auditorium, the audience flow along with the emotional current of the play. They become a part of the play. They laugh when the actors on the stage laugh. They cry when they do so. So, at the end of the performance, when they leave the auditorium, the actual play begins in the mind of the audience. This is the travel. So the playwright has to be accurate. The director has to be accurate, and the actors have also to be accurate in translating, in conveying the exact message that the playwright has wanted to. That is the technical beauty of the play. I hope you understand. It's a technical kind of thing. Now, you know, a drama involves lot many symbols. Which are they? The like, symbols meaning, like in a novel, you have a space to describe the emotions. Whereas in a drama, the actor conveys through gesture posture, through light, through music, through emotions, through his body language or her body language, through the music, through the movement on the stage. So these are the symbols. Through the clothes, like a character cannot come up on the stage and say, "I'm a king." The character has to dress and act like a king so that the audience understands that here is a king on the stage. Right? While in other genres, you have space to analyze or describe the king as king. It is very different in a drama. So gesture posture, setting, makeup, costumes, dialogue, lighting, music, very important, stage space, poses, dialogue delivery, action, costume, mask, all these together, along with the text of the play, all these together, they make a total play. So when you're translating a drama, you don't only have to translate the text, but you have to translate all these things which are never written in a text, but are intended in the text. Now it's a great responsibility, along with age and culture, age and time, age and temperament, all the currents of the time. A translator of drama has to be very careful about the performance aspects of the play, because in the translated language also, the intention of the translator is to get this play performed at some stage. So all these things are very important in a drama. I mean, I've written only a few aspects. There are so many more. For instance, if you read Mahesh Dattani, you need to be technically equipped. For instance, in Tara, there are 7 layers of stage. There are 7 different levels of stage. Each level connotes, each level represents a specific time span. The only real time in Tara, if you remember, if you have read the play, the only real time is dawn. That is older Chandan, where he unfolds the entire play. Otherwise, everything is flashback. But the flashback is not linear. There are layers of time, and each level represents a specific time. So an audience, a spectator, or a reader in that case, who is not aware about all these technicalities, or these levels, or these cross lightings and moods and emotions and costumes and the significance of the mask, etc., will never be able to understand what the writer intends to convey. So translating a drama, meaning to translate all these things. Dattani also introduces a very unique device, that is simultaneity of action. 2 actions happening at the same time. In a text, you can write 2 separate dialogues, but in a limited stage space, where 2 characters speaking at the same time, it's difficult for the audience to understand who connotes what, who symbolizes what, who speaks meaning, what does it specifically mean. If one is not aware about the technical beauty, technical aspect of the play, then this simultaneity of action. So simultaneity of action is very difficult to present in a text. It 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 comes up only in terms of performance. So while one reads a drama, one imaginatively reconstructs a play. Even reading a drama is also a kind of enactment. However, the imagination remains very open. It, 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 it is up to the reader to analyze, to understand the performed text to the best of his or her capacity. Now, translating a play, therefore, means two things: translating a drama text vis-a-vis translating a performance. The combination of the two is translating a drama. So, drama translation is a complex process in this limited sense. A drama translator, a translator of a play, needs to know the performance value vis-a-vis the drama text. And this is the beauty vis-a-vis this is a technical limitation of the play. I had a wonderful experience of teaching Waiting for Godot in an MPhil class. This is a classic example of translating or teaching even a drama into a classroom which is not connected with the present time. When the entire class started reading the drama, the initial reaction was that this play is a waste of time. There's nothing, there's no purpose into writing of this play. It's a waste of time. It's worth dustbin, nothing else. But then such reactions from the class, it also meant that the playwright has remained successful in conveying what he wanted to. Now, there some of the difficulties that I would like to discuss is that the very title Godot is problematic. Waiting for God. Now, we don't wait for God. In India, there's no crisis. No one has declared that the world is godless. God is everywhere. We pray God. We believe that the God is with us, around us, everywhere. We cannot think of a godless world or world without God. And therefore, we don't feel a vacuum. We don't feel a necessity to wait for the God. And here lies the first problem: to convince the readers that such is the background of the play and therefore the title. Now, the purpose of writing the play. Why did the playwright write such a play? The playwright wrote a play at the time when there was a crisis of faith. The very existence of God was questioned. The material world war in between was crushed mankind. The existence of mankind was doubted. Man had become minuscule. At such juncture, this play was written. And this play was meant to reassure that there is God in the world, but you need to wait for the right time for the God to come. Now, the play is absurd. The play is not absurd. In fact, the play shows that our lives are absurd. The only purpose in life, in our lives, seems to be wait for the God. Whatever you do, whatever meaningless you do, whatever purposeless you live, the ultimate meeting with God will happen at some time. Now, another interesting aspect of the play is that this play witnessed collapse of everything. Collapse of structure, collapse of time, collapse of character, of theme, of opening, middle, and anything. Everything. It collapsed everything. The structurelessness of the play. But that also in itself is a structure. Structurelessness, meaninglessness has a meaning. Structurelessness also has a structure. it it collapsed all the structures, all the beliefs about the play, and created a new kind of that. Without a theme, without a character, without a proper theme, without an opening, without an end, you can create a play. An entirely different way of approaching a play, approaching a theater came forth during this time. But this play can only be enjoyed if one has a very sound background of the theater of the absurd, of the situation during the World War and after the World War, etc., etc. Now, there were a few we read Waiting for Godot in English vis-a-vis Suman Bhai Shah's Godot Ni Rahma. It's a translated text in Gujarati. We had curious experiences that what happens to a translated text when such a beautiful drama, beautiful play is translated. That play is not in isolation, it is loaded, it carries so many things, age and culture and time and everything. So when such a text is relocated in an entire different cultural context, what happens to the play? Now, this play was actually translated for a performance, and it was not supposed to be published, but then later a publication came about. So I'm thankful to Suman Bhai for creating such a wonderful text. Now, this play has the translation has a few limitations. For example, the play refers to white bearded, someone white bearded. Now, in a Western world, in a Christian imagery, white bearded refers to Jesus Christ straight away. Now, in this context, white bearded becomes Safed Dadhi Walo. Now, Safed Dadhi Walo in the Indian context does not refer to, in no way refers to Jesus Christ. Now, there are words like goggles and stool and fan, etc. These words are not translated. And for the convenience of the continuity of the readers, of the audience, Suman Shah has omitted certain sentences, certain lines, because then only he or she could strike connection between the performance and the understanding of the text. So these were the compromises that the translator had to undertake while translating Waiting for Godot. Now I come to my experience of translating a play. This play is titled Rio Ka Light. It's authored by the South African Indian playwright Ashwin Singh. Ashwin Singh is twice awarded playwright, and he is much celebrated playwright whose plays are performed in India, in England, in the UK, and at various places in Africa, especially Southern Africa. He's a much celebrated playwright today. Now, a South African Indian playwright does not mean he is an Indian playwright. Essentially, Ashwin Singh is a South African playwright. So, at the outset, when I started thinking of translating this play, I had to learn the situation of South African Indians. Thereafter, I could think of translating this play. Now, this play has been published by Gujarat Sahitya Akademi as Rio Ka Na Surya. And this is the actual performance. This is a scene from the actual performance of the play in English. The actor is Rory Booth and is directed by is written by Ashwin Singh and also directed by the playwright. Now, before translating a play, I had to answer to myself to various questions that arose when I started thinking about translating Rio Ka Na Surya or Rio Ka Light in Gujarati. South Africa, as we all know, is a multiracial country. In India, We do not experience race. We experience caste, but we don't experience race. So, how to translate the race? Because each race connotes a specific meaning, a specific symbol, a specific socio-political position. For instance, black in English means Ashwet, white means Shwet. Indians means Bhartiya. Right? But there is also another race called colored or color red. Now, now how to tag this, how to translate this? Is Mishra Rangi or what to do? Because black does not only mean the person of black color, but it also means a specific position in the social and the political ladder, in the cultural ladder. A white also means a specific position. All Indians were considered as blacks. So translating a race, making the reader understand what does it connote, what does it specifically symbolize, what does the race stand for? Because we have never experienced the race. So understanding the race, identifying the race is very, very tricky while translating a South African Indian drama to one of the Indian languages. But this challenge is an opportunity to make our readers and audience aware about such racial conundrum lurking in South Africa and elsewhere. Then this play, Ryoka Light, deals with 150 years of Indian existence in South Africa. From 1860, when the first official arrival of indentures happened, to 2010 almost. It covers 150 years of Indian existence in South Africa. Now, 150 years of Indian existence means the entire history of South Africa and the Indian involvement in South Africa. So this play does not remain merely an ethnic play, but it crosses the boundary of ethnic identity and becomes a South African play, a representative South African play told from an Indian perspective. So it deals with the history. When the play opens in a sugarcane plantation. So it opens in somewhere in 1860s, where the first batch of indentures, they arrived on the South African shore. It was Natal at that time, on the Natal shores, and started the indenture agreement. We all know that, agreement was termed as Girmit locally. So all the Indians were called Girmitia. We all know about that. But, the agreement, the terms of agreement, the sugarcane plantation existence, the problems during the sugarcane plantation existence, then when the contract for 5 years, then further extended to 5 years, that is the contract, 2 contracts of 5 years, that is 10 years was eclipsed, then the Indians were allowed to live as a free citizen in South Africa. And there started another phase. Somewhere on the plantation or somewhere outside the plantation in a very small town, some of the Indians started grocery shop, a very small jaunt, a very small space where all the blacks and all the Indians, they came around to purchase things. Now this shop, small shops, they started becoming connecting point for the Indian community, as well as for other races, people of other races. So the Indians started gelling, started mixing with people of all races. In some cases, even some of the whites who were not very rich, they used to come to the Indian shop to buy things. So from from sugarcane plantation to the shop, or even the Indians were allotted a piece of land to survive. So many of them started market gardening or kitchen gardening, where they grew vegetables and they sold in Durban markets, in Natal or in nearby towns. Now, if you see the map of Durban, Natal of that time, you know, Indians were allotted small pieces of land in Verulam, Tongat, etc., etc. Now, these are 15, 20 miles away from Durban. So, uh, kitchen gardening was not easy. Growing something was easy, but selling these was difficult, because one of the members, so either husband or wife, either of them had to travel 15 miles one way, 13 miles one way, in many cases 20 miles one way. They would start at 3 a.m. in the morning. They would walk down to the city area, to the Durban. They would reach Durban or the city area at 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. They would sell everything by 8 or 9 o'clock. They would purchase the essentials and then walk down once again 15 miles, 13 miles, 20 miles back to home. So kitchen gardening also had such labor, such hardship. Grocery shop, kitchen gardening, they boosted up one thing, the economy. Gradually, Indians started earning more money. They started becoming slightly rich. So with the apartheid, everything ended in 1913. The Indians left indentures. The Indians left kitchen gardening, sugarcane plantation at mass, and they became the urban residents. But 1948, the apartheid was imposed. That saw an altogether another chapter. There was segregation. Apartheid means segregation on a racial basis. Now, Indians were at a benefit. What kind of benefit? That the whites allowed Indians to mix them up. An Indian can move freely in a white area, but a black could not. So that was the advantage. Otherwise, racial segregation was there. Ronnie Govinder, the father figure of Indian drama in South Africa, Ronnie Govinder's play, The Lahni's Pleasure, it speaks about such segregation. The entire play is located, set in a bar where there are two divisions, one for the white and the other for non-whites. The non-white section is smaller one, is stinking, is not well kept, but the white section is very well kept. That was the difference. Now, there's the microcosm of the South African reality of the time. Rajesh Gopi's play, Out of Bounds, it presents a beach where the beautiful part of the beach is reserved for the white, and the rocky and unkept part of the beach is for non-whites. That was the segregation. Now, apartheid showed such segregation. This play has overtones, has shadows, symbolical representation of such segregations, where where the blacks were not treated well, even by the Indians, mostly by the whites, but few Indians also mistreated the blacks, because the law was against the black. So this is how apartheid is beautifully presented. Now, after say 2 or 3 decades of the apartheid, an intensive struggle for freedom began, and Indians participated along with the blacks for the removal of the apartheid. Zakir Ali is one of the characters in Rioka Light, who is a freedom fighter and who is in hiding. He reaches Rioka. This Rioka is an imaginary town where the play is set. And the play is set around a shop owned by the Mohans. And the story is told from the perspective of the Mohans. So this freedom struggle is beautifully depicted. Now, 1990s came and apartheid was sure to go. 1994, the first democratic election, and South Africa became free. The rainbow nation came into being. A multiracial existence came into being. It brought about the equality. But when it brought about the equality, it brought about another set of questions as well. That if everyone is equal, few are more equal. So the ones with lot of money, the ones with wealth, and the ones with power, a nexus was built among those with wealth and with power. Now the color of the skin, say there is a race, now has become subservient, lesser important, and more important thing became that either you are wealthy or you are powerful. The nexus of the two started ruling the nation. So freedom brought about another set of questions. Now Ryoka Light throws open all such issues beautifully. For instance, Indians entered into various professions. Many of them became doctors, lawyers. Some of them worked with the government. Some of them worked alongside the government. Now, after the whites, Indians started becoming rich. And the condition of the black was deplorable, very, very, very pathetic. So, on instances, the blacks looted the Indians. Not only looted, in many cases, many Indians were even murdered because of the economic divide. All the blacks were poor and many Indians were rich. Not all the Indians, but many Indians were rich. So one is bound to react. In the land of the blacks, other races have started becoming richer. So a reaction was bound to happen. So the blacks started looting the Indian towns, Indian settlements, and even there were plundering of Indian settlements. Uh, in K.C. Govindar's play, Waiting for Muruga, sorry, in Criben Pille's play, Looking for Muruga, the 1949 Durban riots are beautifully presented through the story of a girl who is pregnant and is murdered because of this plundering. So this is how various realities are reflected, presented. In this play as well, this Mohan's shop is thrice looted 3 times. And all the three times, this Mohans are beaten very badly. They are hospitalized and the condition remains very pathetic. So this play shows time, it also shows space. It shows 150 years of time, and within that space, the entire play is created. The play, the entire play is in flashback. It it is it is performed in a flashback from the sugarcane days to the freedom. This 150 years of time span is beautifully reflected. Now, how to represent, how to showcase all these things in a drama through translation. I remember an instance where I went to watch Ronnie Govindar's play. Uh, uh, mm, I just forgot the play. It was held in Mumbai in the Sophia Bhabha Hall, where the play speaks about the Indian settlement, which was relocated because the whites brought about a law. The law was Group Areas Act. So the beautiful Indian settlement where the generations of Indians were born and brought up there, they were forcibly thrown out of the settlement. And the play represents this specific instance of dislocation. Now, I could clearly feel that the audience, which did not have an idea about the Group Areas Act and dislocation, could not connect with the play because they had no idea about the historical event, the symbolic event of this specific place where most of the Indians were brought up and they were nurtured and they grew up into this area. So these are the problems while you translate a play which is very rich in history. So what is the solution? The solution is, which I thought about, is that this play is not only about performance or about a text. It is very rich in history. The target language readers, that is the Gujarati readers, would find it very interesting to know about the position of Indians in South Africa, the 150 years of struggle of Indians in South Africa. So this play was, for me, it was very important to translate such a play from English to Gujarati. So how to counter all these problems of history and time and space? So what I thought was that I should write a preface explaining 150 years of time in a nutshell. So I wrote a preface, and then the play, the translated play, the translated text came into being. So after reading the preface, one clearly gathers an idea about a specific event. That if the play refers to a black, like Temba Dlamini is the black in this play. Now, Temba Dlamini, apart from a human being, is a black. Black meaning specific race. Specific race means specific law. Specific law means specific living condition. Specific living condition meaning specific socio-cultural position. Indian, apart from being a race, also mean Indian. Indians were considered as black. And then whites. White means power. White means wealth. All these were the symbols. Now, after the freedom, there was mixing of the race. Blacks started coming to, came to live with the Indians. Rich Indians started to live with the whites. The mixing of race happened. Now, mixing of race happened. The mixing of the race invited another set of problems, the cultural problems. The drama also highlights all these issues. Now, without a sound understanding of the South African reality, this play is never understandable, never enjoyable altogether. So a preface was inevitable, and I wrote the preface. But I had a serious limitation in my mind that while writing a preface, I am likely to restrict readers' imagination. While creating the imagination, I am also restricting the imagination. So under that condition, I wrote the preface and then translated the play. These are the problems one encounters while translating a drama. But, there are a few questions I would like to address. Is that with all these limitations in mind, should one translate a text, or should there be no translation of text at all because it throws open so many problems? My only answer is yes, one should keep on translating and make sincere efforts at translating, because translation creates cultural synthesis. It brings about cultures together. It bridges cultures, it bridges nations, it bridges languages. And therefore, I enjoy translating. As I enjoy critiquing a play, as I enjoy writing a play, I also enjoy translating a play because I'm conscious that I become a cultural ambassador. I connect the two nations, the two cultures. Therefore, despite all these problems, translating a drama is a joyous activity. One enjoys passing through, undergoing the entire process of translating a drama. One should keep translating and one should bring new and variety of dramas to the mother tongue, to the mother language, to each language, from one language to the another language. That's all for the day. Thank you very much.